everybody, and welcome back. My name is Erin with Arizona Science Center, and today we have probably one of my favorite books to read. It is The Three Little Javelinas. Now, it's kind of a retelling on The Three Little Pigs, but it is with javelinas, and it is set in the desert, actually, which is, I think, really, really cool. So, before anything, let's go ahead and get started with our book today, because, again, it's definitely one of my favorites to read. So, this is The Three Little Javelinas. Once upon a time, way out in the desert, there were three little javelinas. Javelinas are wild, hairy, southwestern cousins of pigs. The heads were hairy, their backs were hairy, their bony legs all the way down their hard little hooves were very hairy, but their snouts were soft and pink. One day, the three little javelinas trotted away to seek their fortune. In this hot, dry land, the sky was almost always blue. Steep purple mountains looked down on the desert where the cactus forest grew. Soon the little javelinas came to a spot where there was a path divided, and each one went a different way. The first little javelina wandered lazily along. He didn't see a dust storm whirling across the desert until it caught him. The whirlwind blew away and left the first little javelina sitting in a heap of tumbleweeds. Brushing himself off, he said, "I'll build a house with them." And in no time at all, he did. Then along came a coyote. He ran through the desert so quickly and quietly that he knew he was almost invisible. In fact, that was only one of the coyote's many magical tricks. He laughed when he saw the tumbleweed house and smelled the javelina inside. A tender, juicy piggy, he thought. Coyote was tired of eating mice and rabbits. He called out sweetly, little pig, let me come in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," shouted the first javelina, who had a lot of hair on his chinny chin chin. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said Coyote. And he huffed and he puffed and he blew the little tumbleweed house away. But in all the hullabaloo, the first little javelina escaped and went looking for his brother and sister. Coyote, who was very sneaky, tiptoed along behind. The second little javelina walked by for miles among giant cactus plants called sequoias. They held their ripe red fruit high in the sky, but they made almost no shade, and the little javelina grew hot. Then he came among a Native American woman who was gathering sticks from inside the dried-up cactus. She planned to use these long sticks, called soroya ribs, to knock down the sweet cactus fruit. The second little javelina said, "Please, may I have some sticks to build a house?" "Oh," she said, which means yes in the language of the desert people. When he was finished building his house, they lay down the shape. Then his brother arrived, panting from the heat, and the second little javelina moved over and made a place for him. Pretty soon, Coyote found the soroya rib house. He used his magic to make his voice sound just a little like another javelina's. Little piggy, let me come in," he called. But the little javelinas were suspicious. The second one cried, "No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." The coyote smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." So he huffed and he puffed, and all the soroi ribs came tumbling down. But there were two little javelinas escaped into the desert. Still not discouraged, Coyote followed. Sometimes his magic did fail, but then he usually came up with another trick. The third javelina trotted through beautiful polyverde trees with green trunks and yellow flowers. She saw snakes slithering by, smooth as oil. A hawk floated around and around above. Then she came to a place where a man was making adobe bricks from mud and straw. The bricks lay on the ground, baking in this hot sun. The third little javelina thought for a moment and said, "May I please have a few adobes to build a house?" "Sí," answered the man, which means yes in Spanish, the brickmaker's language. So the third javelina built herself a solid little adobe house. Cool in the summer, warm in the winter. When her brothers found her, she welcomed them in and locked the door behind them. Coyote followed their trail. Little pig, let me come in," he called. The three little javelinas looked out the window. This time Coyote pretended to be very old and weak, with no teeth and a sore paw. But they were not fooled. "No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," called back the third little javelina. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said Coyote. He grinned, thinking of the wild pig dinner to come. "Just try it," shouted the third little javelina. So Coyote huffed and puffed, but the adobe bricks did not budge. Again Coyote tried. "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." The three little javelinas covered their hairy ears, but nothing happened. The javelinas peeked out the window. The tip of Coyote's raggedy tail whisked right past their noses. He was climbing upon the tin roof. Next, Coyote used his magic to make himself very skinny. "The stovepipe!" gasped the third little javelina. Quickly she lit a fire inside her wooden stove. "What a feast it will be," Coyote said to himself. He squeezed into the stovepipe. "I think I'll eat them with a red-hot chili sauce." Whoosh! Sizzle! Then the three little javelinas heard an amazing noise. It was not a bark. It was not a crackle. It was not a howl. It was not a scream. It was all of those sounds together. Yip, yap, yippee, yahoo! Away ran a pile of smoke, shaped like a coyote. The three little javelinas lived happily ever after in the adobe house. And if you ever hear Coyote's voice way out in the desert at night, well, you know what he's remembering. Nice. And that is the end of the story. Oh wait, there are comments. Ooh. Oh, nice. Ooh, we will definitely work on getting those comments interpreted. That's actually an awesome idea. Thank you. So, for this, I'm going to have to supplement some of the materials just because I don't have some of the materials, but that is okay. And the cool thing about this activity is you can actually use anything that you have at home. So, in the story, the three little javelinas actually build three different kinds of houses. The first one is out of tumbleweed. What I have are toothpicks. The second house is out of sequoia ribs, popsicle sticks. And then the third house is out of adobe bricks. So what I have are these little blocks. Now, I'm going to make the first house. And what I'm going to be using kind of as a base is actually called Model Magic. It's very similar to Play-Doh. The only difference is with Model Magic, you are supposed to leave it out so that way it dries. So, now for this, what I want you guys to try and do at home is find 3 different materials. And the first material, something skinny. Now, I'm using toothpicks, but what's really cool about this is you can actually just go outside and find sticks. Sticks will work incredibly well, or if you can find a tumbleweed, use a tumbleweed, because that's like the coolest. So, basically what I want you to try and do is I want you to try and find 3 materials. Now for this, you're going to have to think a little bit to yourself. What 3 materials do I want to use? I want to try and use a material that I know is not really going to work to try and build a house. And this will represent the first little Javelinas house. And try and come up with a material that's not very sturdy, it's not very strong. And for this one, what I've decided to use is, finally got it opened, toothpicks. Now, it looked like in his house that the first little Javelina, he kind of just like took a bunch of tumbleweeds and just whooshed them together. So it's kind of what I'm going to try and do with my little toothpick house. Now I'm just using the Model Magic as a little bit of a base. And for these toothpicks, a few of them I can stick up kind of like this. See? You can't really see it that well, but I'm sticking them in the Model Magic so that they stay up. Oh, that one didn't. That one fell right away. No, stay. Now what you can do, you just put little toothpicks to start making the walls. Now, as you're making your little house for your little Javelinas, what I want you to think is, why did I think this material wouldn't work? It's not a very strong material. You can build it strong enough so that it does stay, but it's not the best. So think to yourself, why did I think this material wouldn't stay up? But then what could I also do to make this material strong? So I'm going to finish building that a little bit later. So that way I can move on to the next one. So the next house was made out of sequoia ribs. Now, for this, what I brought was popsicle sticks. So I'm gonna do kind of the same thing I did with the first little house that I will be finishing a little later. But I'm again gonna use Model Magic as the base. And I'm gonna try and start using popsicle sticks to build a house. Now what's really cool is if you don't have Model Magic, you could also use Play-Doh, you can use tape, you can really use anything that you have and that you want to use, because again, these are your houses, so you can do them however you want. These are just the way I'm choosing to do it. So with this, I can do the same exact thing that I did with the toothpicks by sticking them in like this and then building them up this way, but what you can also do is kind of find a little bit of a way to build a house kind of like, what were they called? Lincoln logs. Kind of like Lincoln logs. So you put 2 like this, and then you alternate, and you put the next 2 the opposite way. So that way, after some time, you can build up a house. And again, I'm going to finish this a little bit later, so that way I can show you the next house. So this next house, what I have are these really big, thick, kind of block things. Now, for this next house, now, as I said earlier, you want to try and pick 3 different materials. One, the toothpicks that I chose, that I know are not going to stand up. Then you want to try and pick a material that might work, might not work. It just depends. You have to find out. And then the next material, you want to pick something that will, no matter what, stay up. It's strong material, sturdy material. Because the first little Javelina made his house out of tumbleweeds. The second Javelina made it out of sequoia ribs, but the third Javelina used adobe brick, which stood up. So for this, with the little blocks. Again, you can stack them to build a little house. Now for this, you can get super creative with your house and you can build something really, really big. That's what I plan to do a little bit later, to finish building these much bigger. Now, the last part of this activity is what I want you to do. I want you to test it. So in the story, there was a coyote that would huff and puff and try to blow their house in. I personally don't have a coyote, and if you want, you can always huff and puff yourself. But another really good way to test this is to take either a small piece of plastic, cardboard that's kind of the size of a triangle. What you can do is you can take it and you can blow it and wave it. So that way it creates a breeze. You can test it that way. What you can also do is you can use a fan. Now what I want you to do is I want you to try and test each one of the houses you built. That way you can see what stands up, what doesn't stand up, what worked and what didn't work. And the very, very last part of this challenge is that I want you to try and build each one of these houses so that they stay up. So if you were in the story and you were with little Javelina, how would you tell him to build his house so that it would stay up? You can use the materials that they used, like the tumbleweed, the sequoia ribs, or the adobe brick, or supplement different materials. How would you build these houses so that they stay up, so that the little Javelinas can have homes in the desert? Something to think about. Now, last but not least, if you're building something and it's falling down, what do you think you should do? Should you keep trying to build it the same way, or should you try something different? If you have a building that's super, super tall and it just keeps tipping over and just kind of tumbling over, do you think you should make the top part smaller, or do you think you should make the bottom part bigger? These are questions you can ask yourself as you're trying to build something. Now, of course, thank you everyone for joining. Again, my name is Erin with Arizona Science Center. If you want more videos just like this one, or even other videos or fun activities that you guys can do at home, please head over to azscience.org. We have a ton of stuff there for you. Bunch of home activities, a bunch of fun videos, and even just fun, cool videos that you can watch. Again, that is azscience.org. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye!